Warning, the following audio transmission will forever change your outlook on society. You will no longer believe the narrative. You are about to wake up and see things for what they really are. News, facts, and opinions. This is the Doom Daily Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Doom Daily Show. I am your host, Jester Dooms, the email doomdailyshow@gmail.com, everywhere on social media at Jester_Dooms, the website, jestersvoice.com. Go there, leave me an audio message at the top of the page. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, today is Wednesday, January 21st, 2026. I hope everybody is having a fantastic day. It is hump day. You've made it halfway through the week. So good vibes moving forward. Yeah. Hope everybody had a fantastic Tuesday. My Tuesday was a little bit of a debacle. Like it just didn't work out the way I wanted it to. I had high hopes of having the guy come out, look at the tractor, tell me if it was going to be a good trade for the skid steer I'm looking at. And this prompted me to go and get in the car and go look at his skid steer after he came out to look at the tractor. Needless to say, I was very unimpressed, kind of hunk of shit, for being honest. Just not what I would think that something that priced would be. I think it would be better quality for that price, kind of a situation. So, like a shitty paint job, overspray everywhere, like didn't properly clean the machine before painting it. So there's like concrete that stuck to the machine that was painted over, and like you can see the old color beneath it. And it's just like, there's overspray on the cup holders, overspray on the fucking key, like just very shitty paint job. Like you could tell, like this wasn't done professionally. This was like a very semi-professional guy that's like, I got a spray gun and I know how to paint, but you're going to get what you pay for. And if you want something shitty, I'm going to do something shitty. And that's exactly what this was. All right. So needless to say, I was like, nah, we don't want these machines, man. So now, the hunt for a machine continues. So after all that, I got back to the house here and, had to do the winter waterization bullshit that I have to do on the cold days, and moved as much dirt I could with the remaining daylight that I had. And I almost got it knocked out. I even ran after dark a little bit, and the excavator's still continuing moving dirt because the excavator's got good lights and I could see what I'm doing. After that, I went in the house. I ate. My wife made a really good turkey meatloaf with this really good like vegetable medley with like carrots and broccolini and leeks and a handful of other things. So that was good. And then went live on Zatiki Talk. If you guys weren't in the live, I'm sorry you missed it. Sucks to be you, I guess. Yeah. Today's plan. Oh, also the highlight of yesterday was, and this is fucking funny. So they brought the concrete beams for the house project yesterday, very early in the morning. So about 7:30 in the morning, I hear some ruckus and rumbling outside. I check my cameras and I was like, oh, the beams are here. Fuck, I was not ready for this. So I get up, I start getting dressed. Well, the guy's gone before I even get outside. Now, I wanted this guy to place the fucking beams on the goddamn foundation. That was the overall plan. That's what we were going to do. They have a big-ass high-lift forklift. They bring these things in on. The guy was supposed to call like 40 minutes before his arrival. No phone call, no nothing. He's in and out like a fucking flash of lightning, and then one of our beams has a crack in it. Have to get the concrete guy to inspect it to make sure he can still work with it if it's salvageable. Because if not, we got a fucking problem. Okay, got a big-ass fucking problem. So today we're going to figure out if that beam is salvageable. We're going to work on getting those beams on top of the house foundation with every piece of redneck ingenuity I have within my bones. This is going to get very sketchy. It's going to get very dangerous, so I'll try to get some good videos. Yeah. I will continue to move the last amount of dirt that I have to move today, and if everything goes according to plan and all the dirt gets moved and everything else, I'll be building some concrete forms later in the week. Think that's it for my master plans. But, nothing ever goes accordingly. Like I thought I was going to wake up yesterday, do the beam thing, and then have this guy come and look at the machine, tell me yay or nay. And then I figured we'd work out a deal later in the week. And, I would be out here driving around in a brand new to me skid steer. Well, plans have changed. And, what's really funny is like, I wouldn't have entertained this idea before, but now I kind of am. I'm kind of entertaining the idea of going and getting a brand new skid steer. And I don't know if it's the smartest decision to make or the dumbest decision to make. I don't know. Right now, I have this John Deere tractor that has like every implement and attachment to do everything I need to do around here, but it's really limited and a lot of the attachments don't get used. However, I can go out on the coldest of days. It'll start, it'll run, it's reliable. I don't want to trade that out for something that might break down on me in the first week of owning it. I don't want to trade that for something that's going to last me 6 months and then I'm going to have to put $5,000 into it to get it going again. Going and looking at the one piece of equipment this guy had, it needed new tracks. That's a starting cost of $2,000 plus labor. So I could be $2,500 into tracks, plus my trade, plus the cash I got to put down for the difference. At that point, I'm in this already a lot more than I want to be. And the one machine had a hydraulic leak and it might have more that I can't see. So at the end of the day here, I don't think it's necessarily worth it to get something that's used and trade out something reliable, if you catch my drift. So like I said, we're going back and forth and we're playing with some ideas. Here's the thing. And this is why I go back to the idea of buying a new one. If I buy a new one, yes, it comes with a payment. Yes, it's an expensive piece of machinery, but I'm the only one that's ever owned it. I know that it's been properly maintained and maintenance. I can fix problems as they arise and know every ins and outs of that machine versus getting something that has God knows what done to it over the years. Anyway, we'll be right back after these messages.
Jester from It's Doomsday Podcast and the Doom Daily Show here. Do you ever find yourself overloaded with way too much information? Too many logins, too many passwords, too many websites for stuff you like? Yeah, I'm the same way. You don't have to worry about that with the Doom Daily Show and It's Doomsday Podcast. Let's make it simple. Just visit linktree.com/JesterDooms. Add it to your bookmarks. That way, when you need to find the right information, it's right there, under a tap of your finger or a click of your mouse. Go to linktree.com/JesterDooms. Get it, got it, done. Remember, no one has all the answers, but this will provide you with a place to start. linktree.com/JesterDooms. And now, on with the conversation. And here's Jester.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Doom Daily Show. I'm your host, Jester Dooms. The email, doomdailyshow@gmail.com. Everywhere on social media at Jester_Dooms. If you did not get your code word of the week, go back and listen to Monday's episode. Yeah. Producer Scooter, you're looking dapper tonight. I like the way you shaved. Makes you look more distinguished. Yeah. What do you call those? Mutton chops? Mutton chops. Yeah, that's what I thought they were. Okay. All right. So, there were a couple things I wanted to get into on the show here tonight, but don't really know if I want to get into them or not. I select these topics of things I want to cover, and then something arises and my brain just goes down a different path. But anyway, let's do this one I wanted to cover. I thought this was really interesting. Netflix counters Paramount with all cash proposal for Warner Brothers. Okay, this is on the Epic Times. Streaming titan Netflix has adjusted its offer for Warner Brothers Discovery according to a January 20th Securities and Exchange Commission filing. Netflix stated that it will now pay all cash for Warner Brothers and HBO rather than a mix of cash and stock, citing its strong cash flow. The company is offering $27.75 per Warner Brothers share for the Entertainment's Empire film studio and streaming assets. CNN and other channels owned by Warner Brothers Discovery will transition to a separate entity called Discovery Global. A Netflix-Warner Brothers merger would deliver the best outcome for the investor, consumers, and the entertainment industry, according to Ted Sarandos, co-CEO of Netflix. In quotations, together, Netflix and Warner Brothers will deliver broader choice and greater value to audiences worldwide, enhancing access to world-class television and film, both at home and in theaters, Sarandos said in a statement. The acquisition will also significantly expand U.S. production capacity and investment in original programming, driving job creation and long-term industry growth. David Zaslav, if I'm saying that correctly, president and CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, suggested that the amended offer brings the two companies closer to inking an agreement. Today's revised merger agreement brings us even closer to combining two of the greatest storytelling companies in the world, and with it, even more people will enjoy the entertainment they love to watch the most, Zaslav said in a statement. All right, now I want to the article goes on and on. You guys could read this on the Epic Times, but I want everybody to take a second and think about this for a second. You remember when Netflix was just and some of you might be too young to remember this. I don't know how old you are I don't know how fucking old you are. Netflix used to be a by mail subscription where you would rent a movie. It would come to you in the mail. You didn't really have any late fees or anything. You had other movies on your list. You'd send that movie back, and then boom, you'd get a new one in the mail, right? And it was kind of a kick-ass service to have because, back then you couldn't just track your packages on your phone. You didn't know when something was coming. We didn't have the delivery updates. Like maybe Netflix sent you an email saying, "Hey, your DVDs, we received your DVD. Your new DVD's coming," right? But what was interesting about this was it was still a surprise when it came in the mail. Okay. And it grew from this mail DVD service that started putting a lot of rental companies out of business to this streaming service. And it just went wild. And I said years ago, there were two things I said years ago, and I'm starting to see it happen now. Years ago, I said, if Netflix got into gaming, if there was a universal remote that acted as a game controller and they were streaming things like, Call of Duty and Halo and these other awesome games that people like to play, if there was a streaming service for these fucking games, they would make a killing. All right. And now I'm starting to see games pop up, like little crappy games pop up here and there. And then the other thing I had said, and I'm not seeing it, I don't know if I've seen it on Netflix yet or other streaming services, you're always seeing these ads on TV. I said sooner or later, you're going to be able to start clicking on these ads and buying them right through the TV. And that has started to happen. Okay. It's precursor of the future in the realm we're going. All right. Next thing you know, you're going to have ads popping up on your TV for food. Like new at McDonald's, we've got the Mighty Mac thing, blah, blah, blah. Click now to have it delivered within 15 minutes or less. And then boom, you're going to be sitting there having McDonald's delivered to your house while you're watching fucking SpongeBob or some shit. That's what's going to happen. That's where this future is going. Anything we can do to make ourselves fatter and lazier without having to leave the fucking house. That's what's happening. So I say all this to say that this started out as this company that everybody thought was going to fail, and it exploded, and now they're buying other major media companies. That's how much revenue they're generating. Now, when you think about this, it's almost ingenious, right? They come in and they're offering streaming services cheaper than what you can get a fucking cable package for, with better shit to watch. And then you think about it, the cable companies kind of put themselves out of business. Something like a Netflix or a Blockbuster streaming, some kind of awesome streaming service should have been an add-on channel for an extremely cheap amount. And that's what they did. Nobody wants to pay additional for HBO. Back when you were getting the same movies on fucking repeat, maybe a couple new shows that were coming out, this is stupid. Why pay all this money for this limited thing when you could have Netflix and get everything, right? I don't know, just absolutely asinine. And these investors really should have jumped on board back in the day. But, whatever. Just very, very, very interesting how that track has went. and how Netflix is like taking over. But all the streaming services are good. I personally, you know what streaming service I like? I like Tubi. Tubi's free. I get a couple ads if I can watch them. I can go back to watching my show or whatever I'm watching. But the thing I like about Tubi is they're streaming all those old forgotten things I always wanted to watch, but like never got to watch. Like the other day, I just watched Suicide Kings for the first time. I watched The Devil's Advocate the other day for the fucking first time. So, I mean, like, you know, all these older things that are forgotten about, they're over there streaming along with newer shit. So it's like you've got a good mix of things over there on the Tubi. I like the Tubi. Anyway, and it's free. You know, anyway, we'll be right back after these messages.
Hey, producer Scooter here. And if you've made it this far, I just want to commend you for diligent listening skills. But also, I want you to take a moment since you've come this far with us. Send an email to doomdailyshow@gmail.com. Let us know where you're listening from. If you have any ideas for something you'd like Jester to address or talk about, send us an email. That's doomdailyshow@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Doom Daily Show. I am your host, Jester Dooms. The email, doomdailyshow@gmail.com. The website, www.jestersvoice.com. Like, share, subscribe to the show, and give me your IRL, your 1 week in real life interaction. Tell a family member, friend, or coworker, somebody about the Doom Daily Show. Share us out on your Facebook page. Get us out there. Help get the show out there. All right. I know this is kind of a thing that I beat a lot on the show, but it's like newfound information had popped up in my life, and I want to go ahead and have this conversation with y'all once again. Drugs are bad, okay? They're extremely bad. Talked to somebody tonight or last night that I haven't talked to in a while, okay? And they were giving me some info of some things that were going on with some people that are close in their life. Kind of semi-close in my life that I haven't seen in fucking years. And, you know, it really pulls at your heartstrings whenever you're sitting there and you're like, I wonder what this dude's been up to. I haven't seen him in a while. I should call him. But, you know, then you get busy and you forget, you know, life gets in the way of things. And you start to say to yourself, well, it's okay. They don't fucking call me either. And then time goes on. You forget they exist. Then they pop back into your brain again. Hey, I wonder what that dude's up to. I should call him. Then, of course, you don't again. But all these random times they popped up in my head. I was like, I wonder what they're up to. Huh. They were on the drugs and ODing and becoming very close to death and fighting hard to get off the drugs. Now, maybe me not taking the time to reach out was the universe's plan of dooms. Stay the fuck away from that situation. But you have to ask yourself, like, should I, you know, would maybe have me reaching out been like the difference to help get them off some shit? Like, hey man, what's up? What are you doing? We should hang out. So I think that we ignore a lot of the drug stuff. Like we sweep it under the rug. We ignore it. We pretend like it's no big deal. People around us get on drugs and we kind of just push them to the side and shun them because drugs are dangerous. Comes with a seedy lifestyle, comes with seedy people. The people that get on drugs steal your shit. Everything goes missing. But I've noticed something in our culture today is that we're not having these conversations anymore with our kids from a very young age, explaining the dangers of drugs and why you need to stay away from them. We should honestly be having more frequent conversations with our youth about how quickly your life can take a turn for the worse by utilizing illegal and illicit substances. So when I was young, we had... Okay, I want everybody to think for a second. This is pre-Marshall Mathers. This is pre-Slim Shady. This is pre-Eminem. Okay, this is pre all that. I remember sitting in health class, learning the effects of cocaine, learning the effects of prescription drug abuse, learning the effects of things like PCP, heroin. Fentanyl was not something talked about yet. Meth was something not talked about yet. Okay. And just the dangers of all these drugs, how addicted they were, and like these like weird little diagrams and like things in our health books. Like there was one picture that talked about, you know, it was like how cocaine destroys your nasal cavity. It was like they showed this picture of like a hook going through someone's nose in one side and out the other because the center of their nose was burnt. It was gone. There was no more. Or pictures of like a liver cut open with like pictures of like cirrhosis of the liver. And then there were things like, you know, the depleted lungs of a smoker and, you know, all these things. And that was, you know, my generation growing up, we saw these things. So I always looked at drugs like being a very scary, bad thing. And maybe that's why I never got hooked on drugs. Maybe that's why I never got addicted to drugs. Maybe that's why I said to myself, I'm not trying heroin. You have fun with that. You know, maybe that's why I steered clear all that shit. I don't know. But then shortly after, the generations that were a little bit younger than me that idolized people like, you know, Eminem and different music groups that talked about drugs and made drugs seem cool, right? Like Eminem, and as much as I don't like Eminem, I'm not going to go ahead and say he's the problem. Eminem has never came out and like condoned drug usage. He's never came out and said anything like, oh, you're a kid, you should try these drugs. Like, no, he's never did anything like that. But when you're glorifying drugs in your music lyrics and you know kids are out there listening, whether there's a parental advisory on the CD or not, it doesn't fucking matter. These kids think that shit's cool. So when they hear you rapping about smoking hash and smoking weed and you know, doing coke and getting fucked up and, you know, abusing prescription pills and all these things, it's like, oh, they want to try that. And I'm not trying to throw Eminem under the bus, but there's a lot of other bands and music groups that are doing this, but it's being glorified. And then you look at it and it's glorified on film. You know, I remember watching Scarface for the first time when I was a kid thinking, how can they like put this on TV? Like, how is it legal to show all this coke and shit like on this guy's table? Like, is that legal? Can they do that? But anyway, so I think this younger generation has grown up with like, you know, drugs being the norm. And I'm watching people's lives fall apart around me due to drug abuse. I've lost friends. I've seen people I know's lives get destroyed. Girls that I thought were cute back in high school, you know, that, you know, it's like, oh, you know, you got a crush on that girl over there. Oh, yeah, she's cute, blah, blah, dead, OD'd. Seen people lose their kids, their jobs, their homes. And I know that the thing that's killing me about it all is, you know, I see the destruction. Okay. I see it all the time. And every once in a while, like yesterday it's like, it hits a little closer to home. And I'm watching people get upset about us, you know, blowing the narco boats out of the water or going to get this guy from Venezuela. I don't fucking care. Has this shit not hit close enough home for these people that are pissed off that we're blowing boats out of the water that are filled with drugs, or pissed off that we're going to get drug kingpins out of other countries? Like, have you not been affected? Have you not seen anybody be affected by this? I'm sorry, y'all fuckers. Nobody had a problem when we were flying overseas to go fuck shit up after 9/11. You guys wanted fucking revenge, man. But I got news for you. You got just as many people being destroyed on a yearly basis, and you won't fucking bat an eye to that. Drugs create such a problem within our society. Problems with theft, aggravated assaults, murders, just the list goes on, man. Higher insurance rates, for Christ's sake. You as a listener, if you're against me in this topic, I would prefer that you'd no longer listen to the show. I would prefer that you would unfollow this page wherever you're listening and go on about your day. There's no justification at all in watching a young mother try heroin because life's got her stressed out, because life's hard to deal with, and watching her throw her life away, lose her kids, and stay on the drugs till she's dead. And if you're like okay with that, I'm not okay with you. This is a short, simple point. That's it. There's no more, there's no less. I found myself explaining to my son today why drugs were bad. And he asked me, he said, Daddy, why are drugs bad? I was like, well, they destroy your life. They take your life, they destroy your life. He's like, well, what do you mean? I was like, well, I'm trying to explain this to a little kid. It's a little bit more difficult. So, well, okay, first off, you know, a lot of people lose their money, their jobs, their friends, their family, their house. Like, and I said, and that's not like the worst part. He said, well, what's like the worst part? I said, the worst part is they lose their lives. Like, drugs can kill you. They're deadly. And he looks at me and now he's confused because I work in the medical field. So we talk about drug dosages and the idea that daddy gives people drugs. So now I'm in this crossroads of, well, son, we have good drugs, like what we refer to as medications, and you have bad drugs, which are not okay. And I didn't get into the debacle of, abuse of prescription medication that's supposed to be good that people abuse. It's not, if you're out there and you're a parent and you listen to the show and you're like, I'm not having a conversation with my kids about drugs. That is the school's job. That is something I don't want to touch. That is this, that is that. That's not being the cool parent. It is your duty to protect your children. You signed up for that when you brought them into this fucking world, man. And if you don't teach them the dangers of illegal substances before they can get their hands on them, that means you're failing as a parent. All right. It's never too early to start having a few conversations with your kids. Gun safety is a big one in my house. What do you do when we see a gun? We don't touch it. We get an adult. Okay. What should you assume with every gun you see? Assume they're all loaded. Okay. What do you do if somebody gives you a gun? Find an adult. Do you ever put your finger in the trigger? No, not unless you plan on destroying a target. I work on gun safety quite frequently because it's very important. But the same could be said about drugs, drinking and driving, all these things. My kids are too young for the unprotected sex conversation and what roads that can lead down. They're too young for that. But they're not too young to instill gun safety, and they're not too young to start instilling that drugs are bad. Stay away from drugs and people that do drugs. If your kids are old enough to talk to you in full sentences, if they're old enough to say, I don't want a piece of cake, I want a cookie. If they say, I don't want to wear my boots today, I want to wear my shoes. If they are able to distinguish what things are around them with full conversations, they're able to identify what a fucking firearm is, and they're able to understand what they need to do if they encounter one. Okay, and it's if you haven't started having those conversations yet, you probably fucking should. Anyway, that's all I got for this installment of the Doom Daily Show. Like I said, if you're not following, make sure you hit that follow button. Notifications turned on. Producer Scooter, thank you for everything you do. And if you wouldn't mind, sir, hit that button. We'll be back here tomorrow for another exciting episode of the Doom Daily Show.
News, facts, and opinions. This is the Doom Daily Show.